Thanks for inviting me to share our research. This is about a deep learning approach to analyze animal signal, which is named CPM signal. This is the main concept. We use CPM signal and analyze it to get hyperfine coefficients of carbon-13s in the diamond. This is the whole story about. So let me start with the motivation. So there is one MB center here, and there's electron spin in the middle, somewhere in the middle in the MB center. And certain, if we assuming the two spins exist surrounding the MB center, and if there is no interaction between the spins, and you're observing the state probability of the electrons, the state just goes stable as time goes. But once there are interaction between the spins, that interaction gives some peaks in the CPM signal. And that peaks have, in this case, we have two 13 carbon. So we have two different peaks which have its own period. And one period have a relationship, direct relationship to hyperfine coefficient. So one peak, period 1 corresponds to this one, and period 2 corresponds to this one. And this hyperfine coefficients is our target for analyzing the CPM signal. And what if there are 3 carbons around the MB center, and which have different locations? And that makes some peaks with 3 peaks, and we have its own period, 3 different period, and also that period gives us the hyperfine information of the CPM signals. So it's not that hard to understand the relationship between the hyperfine coefficients and the periods, the shape of the periods. But the thing is, if you take a look at the real experiment data, there are so many peaks are there, and also if you pick some at time specific time, there are sometimes some 2 or more spins overlap at the same point. So it's a little hard to analyze manually. So, and also there's one more thing. If you want to describe just one peak, like A1, B1 right here, and that described by using these equations. This comes from this reference paper, and that you can get from the Hamiltonian in the system. And just for one peak, we need to use this kind of function. It's kind of a little bit complicated. And if you have one more peak before that, let me define this function as large f, like this. And if you have one more spins here, that which have different hyperfine coefficients, A2 and B2. And that can be described f, same function, but with different hyperfine coefficients. So you can actually consider this function which have independent variable of, with the hyperfine coefficients. Hyperfine coefficients is the variable for this function. And what if you want to describe 2 peaks at the same time, and the function has to be multiplied each other. So it's quite lengthy. This function is just multiply each other with the variables with 4 independent variables. Like this is for one period, one spin, and there are 2 spins, and then A1, B1, A2, B2 is independent variables. So it's quite complicated to analyze it. But this experiment data has to be, described like this one, because there are so many spins in the diamond sample. So this is why the researchers cannot really analyze it automatically so far. And actually, we know some part, we know some shape of some part of the function, whole function. But the main problem is that we don't know how many spins in the diamond sample. It's just, the configuration of the 13 carbons is just dependent on the sample by sample. So we don't even know how many variables of the function. So it's kind of, you can try like a conventional fitting method to analyze it, but it's not, it does not really quite work well. So this is why we want to implement some another approach, and this is the main methodology we use. So this is supervised learning. This is a very typical method of the machine learning methods. And let me describe just a simple concept of it. So for implementing supervised learning, we need to have input data and output data, both of them. So, and set the neural net in the middle, and we train the neural net to learn the features of the images. Like this is the answer sheet of this image, and we hope the machine learning predict some answers of this image. So if we feed new data, not in the training data, and we want to get the answers from the neural net, like this cat. So for our case, if we feed experiment data to the neural net, and we want like the denoise data and also hyperfine coefficients. This is our scheme of whole procedures. And so let me start the schematics of overall procedures. And you can see the one denoise at first, and the second is classifying AB values. So for the denoise part, we use the noise data as input data and the denoise data as output. These data all comes from the simulated data using the theoretical equations, as you've seen before previous slides. And we set the neural net. You can see the one convolution layers here. That is the very typical neural net layers to analyze one-dimensional array, like voice signals or language processing. So we use that to denoise it, and this is kind of result. If we feed the noise data to the neural net, and we get this pure data. And for the next, classifying A values, we used also simulation data with A1, B1. This is the target we want. And the output is the A1, B1 label data. So we trained this model, and we get this kind of heat map. So this heat map gives us the information of the some point. This is the red colored point is the point where which have the highest probability of the existence of carbon 13s. So let me see some details of results. The denoise process. This is the real experiment data. And after denoise process, it goes to this one. So you can see some noises here, almost gone. But you might wonder that the accuracy of it. The accuracy of the very small peaks is not that really good. But the higher, this kind of peak is really quite well matched with the pure data. And for the finding hyperfine coefficients, this is also experiment data from this reference paper. And we feed this data to the machine learning model and get these hyperfine coefficients. And we want to check with the experiment data with these labels. And the blue one is the experiment data, and the yellow one is calculated data with these samples, these lists. Is quite well matched, like as time goes. All the periods is quite good matched with each other. And also, we did cross-check. This is the table from the same paper at the same MV center, but this hyperfine coefficient list comes from the experiment, not CPMG experiment, but wholly different experiment, and we compare this list to this list, and the average error is 2% or 10% of it. But after like fine tuning of it, we can reduce the error like below 5% or more. Yeah, this is the result, and let me summarize it. So I think this result shows deep learning has a great potential of solving very complicated nonlinear function. Actually, as you see, this function have, if there are at least 10 nuclear spins, independent variable is 20, right? Or one spin have 2 independent variable. So, and you can actually see many research papers to try to solve mathematical problems such as ordinary differential equations, such like that. So, yeah. And second is denoising process of system signal. Denoising process also very general field of deep learning area, and it quite well work well for the system signal too. So I think it can be a good tool to handle noise data. And hardware status we use is we use just one computer, and the i9, and GPU is RTX 2080 Ti, and total turn time is, it depends on how many neural net that I used, but it usually less than in a day from generation data to the trained the model. And you can see the codes here, and also we are willing to test any CPM signals you have. If you have any concerns, contact here. And yes, this is the presentation today. Okay.